When HOA Karen saw my disabled daughter drawing chalk rainbows on our driveway, she screamed about rules and fines. But I never expected what happened next. One gunshot changed everything. Karen didn't know I was the town mayor, and she was about to pay dearly for her mistake. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. The sun was setting over Maplewood, a quiet suburban neighborhood with neat lawns and white picket fences. But beneath the calm, a storm was brewing. My name is David Carter, and I'm the mayor of this small town. Nobody knew that when the tragedy struck. Nobody knew the fire it would ignite in me. It started with Karen Mitchell, the head of our HOA. She was the kind of woman who lived for rules. If your grass was half an inch too long, she'd slap a fine on your door. If your kid left a bike on the lawn, she'd call a meeting to shame you. Everyone hated her, but nobody dared cross her. She had power, or so she thought. My family lived on Elm Street, in a modest house with a ramp for my daughter Lily. Lily was 14, confined to a wheelchair since a car accident when she was 6. She was the light of our lives, always smiling, always singing, her laughter filling the house. Her older brother, Ethan, 16, was her protector. He'd push her wheelchair to the park, read her stories, and scare off anyone who stared too long. They were inseparable. That day, October 15, 2024, started like any other. Lily wanted to draw chalk pictures on our driveway. Ethan helped her outside, setting up her colored chalks while she giggled about making a rainbow. I was in my home office working on a speech for the town hall. My wife, Sarah, was at the grocery store. Everything felt normal. Then I heard the shouting. "Get that mess off the driveway." Karen's voice pierced the air like a siren. I looked out the window and saw her standing over Lily, pointing at the chalk drawings. Ethan stood between them, his fists clenched. "It's just chalk, lady," Ethan said, his voice shaking but firm. "It washes off." Karen's face was red. "This is a violation of HOA rules. No markings on driveways. I'm fining you $500, and if it's not cleaned by tomorrow, I'll have it towed." "Towed?" Ethan laughed bitterly. "It's chalk, not a car." Lily's small voice piped up. "Please, Miss Karen, I just wanted to make it pretty." Karen turned on her, eyes blazing. "Don't talk back to me, you little cripple." That word hit me like a punch. I was out the door in seconds, my heart pounding. "Karen, back off." I yelled, storming toward them. "You don't talk to my daughter like that." She spun around, not recognizing me as the mayor. To her, I was just another neighbor. "You people think you're above the rules?" "I'm calling the board," she snapped, pulling out her phone. "Call whoever you want," I said, trying to stay calm for Lily's sake. "But leave my kids alone." Karen smirked. "You'll regret this." She stormed off, her heels clicking on the pavement. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. That night, around 8 p.m., Ethan took Lily outside again. She wanted to finish her rainbow before the rain came. I was on a call with the city council, distracted. Sarah was still out, stuck in traffic. I didn't hear the gate creak or the footsteps on our lawn. A gunshot shattered the night. I dropped the phone and ran outside. Ethan was screaming, kneeling beside Lily, who lay crumpled on the driveway, blood pooling under her. The chalk was still in her hand. Karen stood a few feet away, holding a pistol, her face pale but defiant. She wouldn't stop drawing. Karen shrieked. "I warned you." I fell to my knees, cradling Lily. Her eyes were open, but they were fading. "Daddy," she whispered, "I just wanted it pretty. Stay with me, baby," I begged, tears streaming down my face. Ethan was sobbing, his hands covered in her blood as he pressed on her chest, trying to stop the bleeding. But it was too much. Her tiny body went still in my arms. The police came. The ambulance came. But Lily was gone. Karen was arrested, but her smug look burned into my soul. "I was protecting the neighborhood," she said as they cuffed her. "You people never listen." The days that followed were a blur. Sarah collapsed at the hospital, her cries echoing in my ears. Ethan stopped talking, his eyes hollow. The town mourned, leaving flowers on our doorstep, but it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. Lily was gone, and Karen's excuse, that she felt threatened by a disabled girl with chalk, was a knife in my heart. I was the mayor. I had power. But I'd never felt so helpless. The system moved slowly. Karen's lawyer argued self-defense, claiming Lily's wheelchair lunged at her. It was absurd, but money buys lies. The HOA backed her, saying she was upholding community standards. My neighbors whispered, torn between fear of Karen and pity for us. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Lily's face, heard her whisper, "Daddy?" Ethan started sneaking out at night, his anger boiling over. One night I found him in the garage punching a bag until his knuckles bled. "I'm gonna kill her," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "No," I said, grabbing his shoulders. "We do this right." But right felt wrong. The trial was set for 6 months away. Karen was out on bail, strutting around like nothing happened. She even had the nerve to send us a fine for unapproved memorials, because of the flowers on our lawn. That's when the fire in me turned to ice. I wasn't just David, the grieving father. I was the mayor. I had resources, connections, and a town that trusted me. Karen didn't know who she was dealing with. I'd make sure she paid, not with violence but with justice so sharp it would cut deeper than any bullet. I started digging. As mayor, I had access to city records, emails, and complaints. Karen wasn't just a bully, she was corrupt. She'd been skimming HOA funds for years, forging signatures and blackmailing neighbors into compliance. I found emails where she bragged about teaching people their place. I collected statements from neighbors too scared to speak up before. They told stories of her threats, her cruelty, how she'd once poisoned a dog for barking too loud. The more I dug, the worse it got. Mrs. Henderson from Oak Street told me how Karen had forced her to pay $2,000 for planting roses without permission. The elderly Mr. Johnson revealed that Karen had threatened to have his Veterans Memorial flag removed. She had bullied children at the bus stop for being too loud. Karen had destroyed birthday decorations, stolen packages, and even called animal control on service dogs. I discovered Karen had been running fake charity drives, keeping the money for herself. She had forged documents to increase HOA fees illegally. Bank records showed she had spent community funds on luxury vacations and designer clothes. The woman was a criminal, not just a bully. I didn't stop there. I reached out to a journalist friend, Rachel, who worked for the local paper. "Expose her," I said, handing over the evidence. "Make sure everyone knows who she is." Rachel's article hit like a bomb. "HOA Tyrant's Reign of Terror," read the headline. It detailed Karen's abuses, her theft, and the shooting of my daughter. The town erupted. Protesters gathered outside Karen's house, chanting for justice. Her HOA allies abandoned her, claiming they knew nothing. Her lawyer tried to spin it, but the evidence was airtight. Social media exploded with support for our family. #JusticeForLily started trending. People from across the country sent messages of love and donations to help with legal costs. News stations picked up the story. Karen's face was everywhere, labeled as a monster who killed a disabled child over chalk drawings. But it wasn't enough. I wanted Karen to feel the weight of what she'd done. I wanted her to wake up every day knowing she'd lost everything just like we had. I called a town meeting. As mayor, I could do that. The hall was packed, standing room only. I stood at the podium, Sarah and Ethan beside me. I didn't hide my pain. I let them see it, the tears, the shaking hands, the rage. "My daughter was murdered," I said, my voice breaking. "She was 14. She was in a wheelchair. She was drawing a rainbow. And Karen Mitchell shot her because of a rule." "A rule?" The crowd gasped, some crying, others shouting in anger. "This isn't about one woman. It's about a system that lets people like her hurt others. I'm the mayor and I say enough." I proposed disbanding the HOA. It wasn't just about Karen, it was about stopping anyone from wielding that kind of power again. The vote was unanimous. The HOA was dissolved, its funds seized for investigation. Karen's house, bought with stolen money, was foreclosed. She had nowhere to go. The state attorney general got involved. Federal investigators looked into Karen's financial crimes. Her bank accounts were frozen. Her credit cards were canceled. The fancy car she bought with stolen HOA money was repossessed. Everything she valued was taken away piece by piece. Karen's husband divorced her, taking their 2 adult children with him. Her own family turned their backs on her. Friends stopped talking to her. She became a pariah, alone and hated by everyone who knew her story. The trial came faster than expected, pushed by public outcry. I sat in the courtroom, holding Sarah's hand as the prosecutor presented our case. Ethan testified, his voice steady but his eyes red. He described Lily's smile, her love for art, and how Karen's bullet stole her from us. The jury wept. Karen's defense crumbled. Her claim of self-defense was laughed out of court. During the trial, more victims came forward. Neighbors testified about Karen's years of abuse. Children spoke about how scared they were of her. Parents described how she had traumatized their families. The picture painted was clear. Karen was a dangerous person who had terrorized an entire community. The prosecutor showed photos of Lily's chalk drawings. They were beautiful, innocent rainbows and flowers drawn by a child who just wanted to make the world prettier. The contrast with Karen's violence was stark and heartbreaking. On the day of the verdict, the courtroom was silent. Guilty. First-degree murder. Life without parole. Karen screamed as they dragged her away, cursing us, cursing the town. I felt no joy, only a cold satisfaction. Lily was still gone. But Karen would never hurt anyone again. Additional charges followed. Tax evasion, embezzlement, fraud, theft. Karen got another 30 years on top of her life sentence. She would die in prison, forgotten and alone. We buried Lily under a maple tree, her favorite spot in the park. Ethan and I planted flowers around it, a rainbow of colors like her chalk drawings. Sarah started a foundation in Lily's name, helping disabled kids chase their dreams. The town rallied behind us, renaming the park Lily's Place. The foundation grew quickly. Donations poured in from around the world. We built wheelchair-accessible playgrounds, funded art programs for disabled children, and provided scholarships for special needs education. Lily's death had sparked something beautiful, a movement to protect and celebrate children like her. But the pain never left. Every night I saw Lily's face. Every morning I woke to her absence. Ethan started talking again, but his laughter was gone. Sarah tried to be strong, but I heard her cry when she thought I was asleep. Therapy helped slowly. We learned to carry our grief together, to honor Lily's memory while still living. Ethan started volunteering with disabled kids, finding purpose in helping others. Sarah threw herself into the foundation work. I used my position as mayor to pass new laws protecting children and preventing HOA abuse. We received thousands of letters from families who had faced similar bullying. Karen's story had opened a national conversation about HOA abuse and the need for reform. Laws were changed because of what happened to Lily. Her death had meaning beyond our personal loss. I stood by Lily's grave one evening, the wind rustling the leaves. "I did it, baby," I whispered. "I made her pay." But as the words left my mouth, I felt empty. Revenge hadn't brought her back. It hadn't healed us. Ethan joined me, his hands in his pockets. "She'd want us to keep going, right?" he said, his voice soft. "Yeah," I said, choking back tears. "She'd want us to make things pretty." We went home and got out the chalk. On the driveway we drew a rainbow, big, messy and bright. Neighbors joined us, kids and adults, covering the street with colors. For the first time since that day I saw Ethan smile. Sarah laughed, her eyes shining with tears. More families came with their own chalk. Soon the entire neighborhood was covered in rainbows, flowers, hearts and messages of love. It became an annual tradition, Lily's Rainbow Day, when the whole town would come together to draw and remember a little girl who just wanted to make things pretty. Karen was gone, her power stripped, her name a curse in Maplewood. But Lily's light lived on, in the colors, in the love, in the town that finally stood up. My heart was broken, but it beat for her. Always for her. Years later I still visit her grave. I tell her about the children the foundation has helped, about the laws that now protect kids like her, about how her brother became a teacher for special needs students. I tell her that her rainbow is still there, painted in the hearts of everyone who knew her story. Justice was served, but more than that, Lily's legacy became something beautiful. She had wanted to make things pretty, and in the end she made the whole world a little more beautiful.